Now we're going to go a little bit deeper on some of the responses, and we'll start first with the area here in Puglia, the local area, Italy and Puglia. So I would like to invite Dr. Donato Oscia, Research Director at the National Research Council of Italy, to tell us a little bit about the Xylella scenario in Europe and Italy. Please, over to you, Donato.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation. I want to say that I'm former the research director, because now the retirement has to. Okay, in any case, let's start with my presentation. I will try to give a kind of short overview of the situation, as you said in the presentation, of this story that, as all of you may remember, started 12 years ago in this area, in this region, with when the olive quick decline syndrome started to show up. At that time, interesting, looking now limited part of the territory, but at that time it was already a quite large area if you want to try to eradicate one organism that is also carried by flying vectors. This is okay, this map is already obsolete because we learned by Karin this morning that there is a new version. However, even with this that is not updated, you can see as surprisingly from what we knew 12 years ago, the presence of situation of Xylella in the European continent, I will say, or in the Mediterranean area, is not so rare, because, as you can see, there are a lot of outbreaks, so a lot of introduction that occurred in the time. And I underlined a lot of different introduction, because it is clear that is not the spread of the same strain, but because you can see that already have been detected 11 out of the 90 sequence type that are known for Xylella fastidiosa. So, but this is has been the consequence of 11 years of mandatory monitoring program, because the monitoring program became mandatory for each member states with the the Commission decision 789 of 2015, and now it is quite interesting to learn by Karin that now in the French mainland they switched from the eradication to the containment, and but you can see now Xylella has been identified also in Israel and in Lebanon. But the important point to keep in mind is that while Pauca 12 years ago was discovered as consequence of the phytosanitary investigation that were implemented at that time, because there was a very impacting problem going on the territory, in most of the other cases, the founding occurred just only simply as consequence of the monitoring program. Not because, except few cases, but in most of the cases, there were not impacting diseases observed and reported by farmer, by a scientist, by a plant protection service, but doing the monitoring program, these were found. And this is true, of course, mostly for the other two subspecies. First of all, the multiplex, and you can see the multiplex is the most spread, the most present in Europe. Oops, what? Sorry. Okay, so this is a map of 2000 of the pest risk assessment of EFSA of 2019. Now we learned by Giuseppe that probably we have to modify a little bit the meaning of the climatic suitability, because according to what has been discovered in the States, in Virginia, I think, because Giuseppe just said about this. But however, At this time, we can consider that almost all the outbreaks that are present in the map of the European Commission, they fall in an area with high or moderate climatic suitability. So there is a quite good overlapping with the map of the climatic suitability. And therefore, the climate, we can consider the climate as a key factor for the epidemiology of Xylella fastidiosa, together, of course, with the vector population and with the presence of just a curiosity, just to give credit to Professor Alexander Purcell, that already in 1988, with empirical tools, because now the modelists of EFSA, they have a lot of very sophisticated tools for doing this work. And you can see that map is a handmade map that in 1988, at least for the case of Apulia, show in 1988 already a situation of high risk that is more or less overlapping with the real situation today in Apulia for the case of the olives. But also the climatic suitability, it is different according also to the subspecies. And as Giuseppe said, the multiplex is the one that can be also spread, can spread also in area where the climate is more cold, while Pauca is more warm-allowing than multiplex. We do not have to forget also that we have to take in account the climate change. It means that probably, beside the other factors, but just only for this factor, probably the maps of 1980 of the 2019 probably are not actual anymore. But this is okay. Is this one that the previous slide was an old one that by mistake remained in the presentation. But this is more or less the current situation in Apulia. The colleague that will follow my presentation from the Plant Protection Service, that by the way, in the program is written Salvatore Infantino, but it will be substituted by Dr. Francesco Palmisano from the same office. He will give more detail on this. But I named the Apulia a good case study for this in general, because so far in 12 years are already over 1,400,000 plants that have been analyzed in laboratory. I think, just to give you, I think that the magnitude of this program is unique. It's not, I do not have information about similar, so big, so enormous campaign of monitoring done in other parts of Europe, but of the world at the same time. And then I think that even if not sustainable for long term, this kind of campaign, but can give a good contribution, an important contribution for the real understanding of the real situation of Xylella in our regions. And just a few words to remember to the platea that which has been the impact of the Pauca on the olive industry in Italy. There are several millions the trees, olive trees that are severely compromised already in these years. And by the economic point of view, there are just this year was published one study of economists of the University of Bari that using real data, they made a first estimation of the damage occurred so far, and they estimate in a total loss of 132 million euro per year of profitability, and a total loss of over 1 million working day per year. But there is it could be also a kind of underestimation, because the database that they used to do this was not so, probably was not large enough to estimate. But in addition to this, there are other damage that should be taken in consideration. One important is that the big loss of the value of the lands now in that area, as well as the environmental and climatic damage that was caused by this epidemic. And sorry, what happened? So the limited spread in the northern outbreak of Pauca is not. So now we saw also by the slide of Karin that now there are in Apulia, in north and central part of the region, are there several outbreaks of Pauca. However, the spread of those outbreaks is not comparable with the devastating spread occurred in Salento. So now it is true that there are several outbreaks that are appearing in the central northern part of Apulia. But in addition, we also have to say that at least a part of this spread are a consequence now of the spontaneous report made by citizens of suspicious cases, because probably there is an increase of sensitivity of the people in northern part of Apulia that started a kind of spontaneous case of citizen science, because they are reporting these cases. They are helping to discover also outbreak that in some cases probably they are also old outbreak, but small outbreak, because the spread seems to be much slower than what occurred in southern part of Salento. What happened? Just to remember that on the left you can see which was the situation 12 years ago, but in 5 years there was we observed a very fast spread of the bacterium, and that in the center is the official demarcation made by the European Commission in 2008. And if you look in the case of the area that is under containment, the further expansion of the infected area since 2018 can be has been very limited. I can put that yellow oval on the map on the right, and this is the situation. So the spread, but even the spread over short distances, in the case of new outbreak in the north, is much slower than it was in the south. Just to give you one example that I remember by personal experience, that 12 years ago, when in one olive orchards in the southern part near Gallipoli started to show some symptoms, within a few months, the whole orchard was interested by the disease. While in the central part of the region, when one outbreak is discovered with 2-3 plants, I don't know now, maybe 1 year later, we can detect 5, 6, or 2 more plants, but not so epidemic spread. So there is a major difference in this. Which could be the reason of this? First of all, a less suitable climate. We said before that, and if we look to the map that I showed before, you can realize that the climatic suitability is not exactly the same of the southern part of Apulia. But also there are, in the central northern part of the region, different land management, differences in agronomic and phytosanitary practices. So there is much more control of weeds, for instance. And in addition, now there is the application of the containment measure released by the phytosanitary authority that are much better organized than 10 years ago. And of course, this is another factor for sure contribute to this in slowing this. I'm referring to the monitoring and removal of infected plants, vector control, that in some cases is mandatory, which have the objective to slowing down the spread. And what we're observing is just that the attendant result in a certain sense. And in addition, there are data saying that in the central part of the region, the population of vector is less abundant than in the southern part of the region, and this is also a consequence, probably, among the others, of different land management and application of containment measures. Few words about the funding of the other subspecies, the multiplex. In our experience, in the Apulian experience, with the strain that we have, the ST26, that so far is unique in Europe, we are not able to observe significant symptoms, significant diseases. So the Plant Protection Service is founding the bacterium only as consequence of the monitoring program. There is even the same agronomist, technician doing the sampling. They are not able to record any presence of specific symptoms. Of course, there are symptoms of draw, of the summer stresses, but are the same that are physiologic in our condition for almond, not irrigated almonds. So there is no, if we consider that the boundary of the demarcated area for multiplex is still in progress, is because we still have positive near the border of the demarcated area, we believe that probably is even more widespread, and probably it is a quite old introduction that since it's not causing impacting diseases, escaped always from the preliminary for the detection to be done before. Now, now we are already 1.5 years, at least after 1.5 years of eradication, and the impact in our condition appears to be negligible, but we understand that it's the same in other parts of the continent. I don't know, I read one recent paper from Portugal. I'm not able to find a report of specific major diseases there, just for instance. The outbreak was discovered also only as a consequence of the surveillance program, but so far in Puglia, no one has reported the associated disease. Beside the almonds, the risk of infection of other specified plants seems to be very, very low, occasional, because in practice, in our condition, almond is almost the exclusive host of this strain. The boundary of the affected area are not yet identified, and severe impact of in this frame, the eradication program for sure has an impact that is higher than the impact of the bacterium himself. A few words also for the strain, for the fastidiosa. Fastidiosa, this has been found just near Bari, in an area that is apparently limited but not so small, because are at least, according to the monitoring program campaign of last year, there are at least 8 square kilometers interested by the presence of this strain. We are interested. Maybe my colleague that will follow me will give some update for the campaign of this year. It will be very interesting. In some case, we observe some significant impact in the vineyards for some particular cultivars, and in cases in vineyards that are surrounded by abandonment or something like that. So situations that are very favorable to to give a high pressure of inoculum. That is the situation. You can see the area interested is in the yellow oval, and you can see the color of the background that is more dark, different from the more white, almost white background that we have on the right. The white that you can see on the right are not buildings, are not city, are not municipality, but are vineyards for table grape that with the cover of a plastic cover. It means that there is a very major district for the production of grape tables that is very important by the economic point of view, that is touched, but so far seems that Xylella didn't enter in that comprehension. That has a very high economic value, also for the income of the regional economy. That's must be taken in consideration. Sorry, what happened? Okay. Oof, sorry. Can you go back a few slides, please? Go back. Okay. Thank you. So this give you a better idea of the situation. On the left, there are a few scattered vineyards, but surrounded by situation like this. That is very favorable to the spread, with some isolate almonds that quite often are infected. They are the real reservoir of the bacterium responsible for the infection of the surrounding vineyards, while in the compulsory of high value for table grapes, the situation is quite different, and we strongly believe that this condition is a condition that is hostile to the vectors. So in case, we hope not, but in case the bacterium will get into that comprensorium, we expect that the spread there will not be epidemic. So by the practical point of view, we will feel much more comfortable if the regulation will allow, in this condition, just a strategy of containment instead of eradication. Because the eradication, if the bacterium starts to spread in that area, will be devastating by the economic point of view, and we will meet with a strong opposition of the farmers. Strong opposition of the farmers, even worse than what occurred with olives years ago in Salento. But also looking to the general situation of the fastidiosa in Europe, we can see that as in Majorca, after 20 years at least of the presence of this bacterium in the vineyards of Majorca, they classified the incidence and impact of Pierce disease to moderate or low level. But also in Israel, for instance, I exchange messages with our colleagues in Israel that is in charge for the search on fastidiosa vineyards, which is the impact. We don't know yet, but there are already 6 years that they discovered this. We don't know yet means that at least there is not a devastating epidemic spread of the disease, at least of the Pierce disease. So this is the situation that is quite complex of our outbreak in Bari, and close there is a X missing. There is a multiplex spread that is almost touching this. Just a kind of provocation. Not all bad news are necessarily bad, maybe, because regardless the regulation, evidence suggests that competition between strains may modulate disease prevalence by influencing strain dominance in both host and vector. For instance, in the southern part of the island of Majorca, where the presence of multiplex is higher, the incidence of Pierce disease is lower. This because probably this impact on the infection of the vector population. So maybe there is a kind of indirect cross-protection made through the vectors by the presence of multiplex. This is my last situation. So the complexity of the situation since the 2013, the picture that we have changed a lot. So the complexity of the situation suggests the adoption of targeted and case-by-case adapted management measures rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. Is it time to consider revising the regulations? So from what I understand this morning from Giuseppe, from Caring, I think that work is in progress. So we may think that in 1 year or a little bit more, maybe something will be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Donato. Yeah, maybe you can stay here with me. And so as you've already introduced, Francesco Palmisano then from the Phytosanitary Observatory of the Regione Puglia.
Good morning, everybody. I illustrate to you the situation Xylella fastidiosa in Apulia region. This first slide show the first individuation of Xylella fastidiosa in Apulia, in particular in Gallipoli. After the situation is this, in which we have several monitoring campaigns. In 2013 we have outbreak in Gallipoli, in particular any plant positive in province of the Lech. After in 2017 other plant positive here in province of the Brindisi. After up in north of Apulia and involved also the province of the Bari. And in 2023 the situation is this with other single plant positive in monopoly near to Bari. So in this table you can see the number of the activities monitoring performed to the phytosanitary service, Apulia phytosanitary service. Each row show you the number for a particular, in any case, for example, 2021-2022 number of olives sampled are 188,000, a number very high, very intensive activity performed to phytosanitary service. So in the 12 years of the activity, the number plant sampled of the phytosanitary service are 1,040,000 plants. Very no comparable in other part of the region and the Europe. This intensive activity performed. So this is in this number regarding in part the first outbreak indicated in Apulia region, the outbreak ST53 Pauca, illustrated in this slide. But in 2025 the situation changed in Apulia region for Pauca, because in these years, over the number 53 positive in these years, we have sampled about 100,000 sample, and in this activity we have individuated other outbreaks of Xylella fastidiosa Pauca in Apulia. Each point indicate a new outbreak, and each outbreak is indicated the number of aerofit number with the number in which communicate the presence of new outbreak in Apulia. One outbreak in Modugno, Giovinazzo, Bisceglie, Minervino, Murge, and after the last outbreak is Cagnano Varano, very in the north of part of the Puglia. So this outbreak, this is outbreak of the Pauca ST53 in Salento, and this the outbreak in Bari, indicated in 2024. So Okay, this is example of the activity performed of the phytosanitary service in Apulia. It's not Minervino Mugge, erroneous, but Cagnano Varano. The first activity is situated the infected plant after to notify the presence the new outbreak of Eurofit in EU member other phytosanitary service of certain member states. So after we have established the new demarcated area in Cagnano Varano, in which we have infected zone. Infected zone are zone over 50 meters around of a plant infected, and the buffer zone, the area around about 2 kilometers and 5 around the infected zone. After the eradication measure, in which to eradicate uprooted the plant, the specific plant located, seated in infected zone. Very intensive activity. So, after we delimited area to eradication measure, reinforced surveillance in 40 meters around the plant infected zone is performed. And after, when completed this activity, change the area investigated, involving also the whole buffer zone. So in the number very high, in few weeks, the phytosanitary service collected around 2,000 samples, and in which we have individuated 153 positive plants. Other outbreak individuated in Apulia, Xylella fastidiosa. In Apulia, the phytosanitary service conducted the monitoring not also to the plants, but also vectors, not only in the demarcated area, but also in the demarcated area. And in this case, in free area, we have individuated a vector positive in Agro di Trigiano. In this after, the area is involved in one monitoring activity on plants, and individuated 4 plant positive of the almonds. After, the CNR conducted the characterization of the genotype and individuated in this area the presence of Xylella fastidiosa ST1. Don't change. Okay. The first activity of the demarcation of the area, we have the infected zone and buffer zone, and together is the demarcation area. This is also over the picture of the infected plant of the almonds in this area. This picture over the grapevine infected plant in the area, and the short distance between the demarcated area of Pauca and fastidiosa suggests to identify the subspecies presence in each new positive plant. Each new positive plant is characterized by protocol UPA to individuate the type of the subspecies. So after intensive monitoring activity around Trigiano is performed to individuate other positive plants, and the actual situation is this. in which we have in this area the co-presence of 3 subspecies. We have fastidiosa, multiplex, and pauca in this area. The plant collected in 2024 are 44,100. The positive 406. Fastidiosa 30 positive fastidiosa 139. 58 multiplex and 9 of the pauca. This is are the results of the monitoring activity in 2025. We have a prevalence of the multiplex in this area. So other subspecies individuated in Apulia is the multiplex. This individuated is obtained by monitoring activity on the plants in free area. Also in this case, characterization the multiplex ST26, demarcated area, and also in this case, eradication measure to eradication of the bacteria. This is situation now, very large area in which presence the Xylella fastidiosa multiplex and other and for the phytosanitary service use the compensation, permitted compensation of the compensation of the hours, farmer with that involved in eradication and containment measure. For example, in the case of the vineyard of a table, each hectare uprooted about 58,000 € for each hectare. And also not also compensation for damage, but also compensation for cost of extirpation. And in this case, the cost is 3,000. For this table, summarize the entity of this compensation for the hours or farmers involved in activity of the eradication or containment. So other okay. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's more like this.
Okay. Okay, this is are the entity of the eradication measure for the last year area in Trigiano. For approximately uprooted 3 hectares of table grapes, 3.5 hectares of wine grapes, and other plant. Very intensive activity in this area to eradication the fastidiosa and other subspecies. So other activities monitoring vector insect. The target of the monitor insect are 3 species: Philenus spumarius, Philenus italosinus, and Philenus campestris. The life cycle of the insect is illustrated in this slide. In February, each egg hatching. In spring, in first part of the spring, development stages of the juvenile phase. In late spring, adult emergency, and in summer, the insect pass from herbaceous host to olive plants, and in autumn oviviviction, one cycle in each year. In Apulia region, phytosanitary service conducted the monitoring service to vector, In this slide are illustrated the site involving this activity. The choice of this point is the single point is done considering the spatial distribution of the infected plants, the proximity of the major transportation infrastructure, and the land characteristic of landscape altitude. All territory of Apulia region is involving this activity, including not also the marketed areas, but also the free area to Xylella fastidiosa. This is the scheme of the example of the activity, illustration of the activity performed in the monitoring vector, juvenile stage, adult stage, and the insects collected are analyzed to verify the presence of the contamination of Xylella fastidiosa, and in the case the positive, the monitoring, the intensive activity of the monitoring to individuate the positive plant is conducted. In this specific website, whole information, the act of the eradication, act the demarcation, data regarding the monitoring activity, both vector and the plant, are reported, and other activity. I have illustrated you the activity to perform, to individuate a new outbreak, to eradication the bacteria, contaminating bacteria. Other activity is extraordinary plan for the regeneration olive growing in Apulia. This activity is regulated to the interministerial decree published in 2020. In this slide, we have the main topic for this interministerial decree. So, for example, the first each activity, for example, vector control, elimination of inoculation source. For each activities, there is a specific budget. Other activities, replanting olive trees, conversion of upper clips, and other activity, including the communication information. The very part important in this program is replanting olive trees in infected area, and the measure aims to promote the recovery of potential production through financial support for removal plant trees that are not longer productive. The total measure fund allocated is 80 million euro. Committed 64 million, and beneficiaries about 3,000. Other activity in this program of communication information, in this activity is included the project Regenesi. In Regenesi project, all information obtained in the Apulia region is used to information other office, other phytosanitary service in third countries, and in these slides reported the possibility of the download of the first briefing. So, in conclusion, the measures are conducted to combat the spread of Xylella fastidiosa in the Puglia region, considering the monitoring regarding the monitoring of territory, early detection infected zone, and detected infected plant, and after eradication and containment and control in the vector. Also, other measures are conducted to regeneration, destroy olive growing potential, including in interministerial decree or March 2020. So, considering the different epidemiology characteristics of Xylella fastidiosa pauca, Xylella fastidiosa multiplex, and è fastidiosa, it will be preferable to revise the EU legislation to provide the mandatory measure ponderated or specific, distinguish this measure, this mandatory measure, in considering the different damage or different symptomatic determined by each type of subspecies. Okay, I have a conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco. And please, please take a seat. Yeah, you can maybe share a microphone here. We won't take too much of your time, but maybe just a couple of follow-up questions before we go on a break. So there's intensive monitoring going on in the region, so you have a lot of experience, and thank you for having shared that experience. One thing that you mentioned is that you've realized that there's no one-size-fits-all, and even within the region of Puglia, there are different speed of spread of the disease, and therefore different realities even in the region. When it comes to a potential solution, like let's say a biopesticide that may come onto the market, do you expect that a single product could nevertheless be used in all cases? Let's say in the region of Puglia, or even within the region of Puglia, you would expect different types of products necessary to contain the spread in different areas, even including within Puglia? Or would you say the product could have a much broader reach? What's your expectation?
Concerning the product, I think that the availability of efficient product, it will be could interest everything and everywhere, regardless the different speed of spread. So I think that it's more important to adapt case by case, to focus also on the practices of management in general. So not only looking to the pesticide or whatever, to the product that you can apply. So that's my idea.
Yeah. And on genetic resistance as well, because obviously that probably takes a lot of time to develop genetic resistance and to have that in reality in fields. But do you see anything coming? Is there any research that is happening in this area that can have a substantial effect? And again, how much can that adapt to different realities, including within the region of Puglia?
Okay, so we have to look, as we said, the situation is complex. There is not only pauca, there is not only olive. We have to keep the attention, because still we don't know, as I said, the real impact of the fastidiosa, but we must keep open our ears also on the evolution of this subject for the grapevine, especially. And also in some parties, it's not the case of Apulia, but this also applies to the almond, if we look to the situation in Spain. So for the in case of olives, there are several programs of research to develop germplasm resistant to Xylella in Italy, at least, because there are several projects. In particular, there are 3 consortiums funded by the Minister of Agriculture now that are focusing on a program of genetic, of breeding or development of resistant germplasm. In the case, I'm more informed in the program that is going on in my institute that is coordinated by the colleague Maria Saponari, and for that there are already promising things underway, because it has been differentiated in different line of research, but from each one of these there are with a different step, but there are, I don't know, in the case of the selection of spontaneous seedlings that has been selected in the territory, now there are 2 selections that are for which has been initiated the ITER for the registration of these two cultivars. There is the first activity that started 10 years ago, as was mentioned a little bit by Giuseppe Stancanelli before. Quite soon we'll release the results, and we are confident that among them there are 5, 6 maybe cultivars that may have characters of tolerance. That is not a final solution, but it is an help. But the program of the traditional breeding took much longer time, and we'll see in the future.
Yeah, and maybe a comment then also from Francesco on that, because obviously that takes a lot of time. So the biopesticides or all these kinds of products are important in the meantime, right? And probably may be able to get to market quicker, but they still need to interact, right, with developments in genetic resistance. So maybe a comment on that as well.
So very very important to have the new germplasm to the resistance and tolerant, because it is new important. It is in very low time, because to substitute the old cultivar in Salento with other new cultivar, all the results of the research.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a question here in the front. We'll take that one, and then I promise I'll let you have a short break. Okay? Please briefly introduce yourself.
Stefan.
It's true, you're already on.
Yeah, I have one question. When I see the area where you have the different subspecies in the same area, is there any risk that there is some horizontal gene transfer between the different subspecies? Because the bacteria, they are with the insect, it's the same insect, taking the different subspecies to go to different hosts. So there is this risk scenario. But for the moment, we don't know. Huh? I'm afraid of that.
Yes, but if I will understand you mean the risk or recombination? Yes, the risk there is, but of course, but there is a risk. But at least so far we haven't found any case of recombination or any case, at least so far, of double infection in the same insect, in the same so far. But you never know.
Okay, Donato, Francesco, thank you so much for having shared your insights.